Whispers beneath the earth. The town of Ravenshade had long been forgotten, buried beneath time like the bodies resting in its ancient graveyard. No one visited the graves anymore, and those who lived in the nearby village spoke of it in hushed tones, their voices laced with fear. The graveyard was old, older than any records could trace, and legend had it that the dead there were never truly at rest. It was said that those who stepped beyond the rusted iron gates after midnight would hear whispers beneath the earth, pleading, sobbing, and sometimes laughing. Nathan, an eager paranormal investigator, had heard the stories and dismissed them as local superstition. He had spent years traveling to supposedly haunted locations, searching for definitive proof of the supernatural. When he arrived in Ravenshade, the townspeople avoided his questions, warning him that the graveyard was cursed. Undeterred, he set up his equipment, EMF detectors, night vision cameras, and an audio recorder, determined to spend the night among the dead. As the clock struck midnight, Nathan pushed open the graveyard's heavy gates. The rusted metal groaned, and an unnatural chill crawled up his spine. The moon hung high, casting eerie shadows over the tombstones, many of which were so worn that their inscriptions had faded into obscurity. The graveyard stretched further than he had anticipated, the landscape filled with crypts and statues of angels with broken wings. He started recording. This is Nathan Greaves, documenting the haunted Ravenshade Cemetery. Locals claim that the dead whisper beneath the ground. Let's see if there's any truth to it. He moved forward cautiously, his boots crunching against the dry leaves. The wind was still, suffocating in its silence. Then, a voice, soft, nearly imperceptible. Nathan froze. He held his breath and listened. The voice came again, a whisper. Leave. His heart pounded, but excitement flared in his chest. He lifted his recorder, his voice steady despite his nerves. If someone is here, can you say that again? Silence, then a faint giggle. Nathan turned quickly, shining his flashlight over the graves. But there was nothing, just headstones and darkness stretching endlessly. He shook his head, attributing it to the wind. But deep down, doubt began to creep in. He continued deeper into the graveyard. As he approached an old mausoleum, his EMF detector spiked wildly. He swallowed hard, stepping closer. The name on the mausoleum had long since eroded, but the heavy stone door was slightly ajar. The darkness inside was thick, almost tangible. His fingers brushed against the cold stone as he pushed the door open, wider. The hinges screeched. Inside, the air was heavy with decay. His flashlight flickered. Then, footsteps. Nathan turned sharply. The footsteps circled the mausoleum. His breathing grew rapid as he aimed his camera at the entrance. Waiting. The whispering started again, multiple voices now, overlapping, urgent. Some crying, some laughing, and then a scream. Not a human scream. Something deeper, guttural, ravenous. Nathan stumbled back, knocking over his equipment. His flashlight flickered violently before plunging him into darkness. His breath came in short, panicked bursts. The whispering grew louder, closer. It surrounded him, and then a hand, cold, clawed, wrapping around his ankle. Nathan kicked, scrambling backward. His fingers grazed the doorway, and he threw himself outside the mausoleum. The whispering stopped abruptly. The air grew still. His flashlight buzzed back to life. He looked around frantically. Nothing. His heart slammed against his ribs as he gathered his equipment, his hands trembling. He didn't care about evidence anymore. He just needed to leave. As he sprinted toward the graveyard's entrance, he heard the voice again, this time right against his ear. "See you soon." The next morning, a local farmer found Nathan's equipment just outside the graveyard gates. The camera had recorded all night, but when they played back the footage, all they could hear was whispering. Nathan was never seen again.